How have you sensed the guys' energy this week, and what do you think you've got accomplished so far?
I think it's been good. I think kids are resilient, and obviously there was disappointment with last week, but we addressed the issues and we move on. We've had a couple weeks that we've had emotionally and physically challenging and draining games, but I think it's been great. The weather's been awesome, which is always a perk. And I think our practices have been really good. I told you we've had really good conversations and dialogue with the guys. We got some things that we got to get addressed and we got to get fixed, but I think it's been really good. I think they clearly understand what we have to do to be successful this week. Starts with stopping number 6 in the running game. That's going to be a big deal for us. But I think the guys have been good.
We had a chance to talk to Andrew Nelson today. Can you talk about him a little bit as a player, what you've asked him to do, and also about him kind of as a kid? He seems like a real introspective, kind of on-the-ball guy.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of his. For as big as he is, he's got really light feet. Missed a lot of off-season in terms of strength and conditioning. So I'm actually really excited about kind of his future development. For as big as he is, he's light, he's athletic. Light on his feet and athletic. He's a smart guy, and I think for a redshirt freshman, he's playing pretty well. I've been pleased with him. I think he's a guy that has a chance to really develop into a leader for us. It's hard to ask that of him as a redshirt freshman at this point, but I'm pleased with him, excited about his future.
Are Miles and Donovan any closer to being able to suit up this weekend, do you think?
I think Miles, we're hopeful, and I know I say that every week, and I'm not just telling you guys that, I am. I'm hopeful. There's nobody that wants him back more than we do. Donovan, it's up to the doctor, so I don't know. Typically, we don't really find these things out until later in the week, usually Thursday, Friday morning.
James, every Wednesday we come out here, we get to see the scout team go against your offense and against the D over there. What is your process for that? At what point of the week are you evaluating, who's going to play who on the scout team, whose role is going to, or who's going to play what role? You know what I mean there?
Yeah, we do that on Sundays because we put them in the numbers. So each Sunday, we have our depth chart and any changes we're going to make on the depth charts of the travel guys, and then we do the depth chart of the scout team, and who's going to be their tailback, who's going to be their return guy, who's going to be a defensive tackle that we think is a problem. So we try to actually put those guys, and to me that's a tremendous compliment when you're wearing the number of the best player. So we do that on Sundays.
And who's running that? I mean, in terms of, is there one of your coaches on your staff gets together with those guys and assigns those roles?
Well, what happens is the graduate assistants put the depth chart up on Sunday, so when we come in and meet as a staff, it's up there, and then if myself or Bob or John doesn't agree with it, we'll switch a guy, and then basically when they come out to practice on Sunday, that jersey's waiting for them in their locker, and then we usually, when we break up and go offense and defense, the graduate assistants meet with the scout teams and watch the film and talk about what they're going to have to do this week to simulate Indiana.
This would be the first opportunity some of these guys have a shot at playing for a bowl game. Do you worry about these guys pressing or getting a little anxious as you get closer and closer or trying to become bowl eligible?
No, but I do think there is a point with us where there's been so many things over the last 3 years that we've had to discuss and talk about other than school and football. So that's been something that's kind of interesting, and making sure we're doing a good job of managing that. I know for me personally, more so than any program I've ever been associated with, and I'd make the argument probably more so than most in the country. But I think our guys have handled that for the most part. But no, I don't worry about that. We're just focused on Indiana.
Hey James, because of those things, in a lot of ways you guys are playing with a hand behind your back. Do you think about at least, or try doing things unconventionally during a game, kind of even things out at all? What's your thought process?
Yeah, we do. We talk about it. We've done some of those things, early in the year. We look at, probably, looking back at it, the 4-minute offense the other day. Looking back at it after the fact, you'd like to do some, you'd probably like to do some things that aren't maybe typical of what you typically would do in 4-minute offense, but there's also things that have limited us in terms of our roster. So maybe you do a different play, or you do a different scheme and things like that, but you're concerned about injuries because you don't have a backup at that position. So I don't think there's any doubt that you have to. I think that probably shows up for us more in practice. and how we're able to practice and some of the things that we're able to do. Scheme. I wish we probably would do a little bit more of that. We probably need to look at it going forward.
Another scout team question. I remember being out in Pasadena for the Rose Bowl back in '08 and watching Ray Mawaluga just kind of tee off on some of those scout team guys for USC. What kind of sacrifices do these guys make for the team to kind of be part of it, where maybe they're not the biggest guys out here and they're going against the ones, they're going against the twos?
You know, a guy that I think is a perfect example that I've been really pleased with is Joe Holmes. Joe Holmes is a true freshman out of Scranton. Him and Noah went to high school together, and he shows up here and he's going to play D tackle, and he's 5'10", 260 pounds. But I'll tell you what, his motor and his attitude and his energy level, he's earned everybody in this program's respect, and has been really valuable. So guys like that, you know, I think our guys, we got guys that get it and are very appreciative of those guys and how hard they work. You know, so that's an important part of our program.
Can it be good to get on the road after a couple losses at home? What are your thoughts on that, just getting on the road this weekend outside of State College?
I always like to be at home. If we could have 12 home games, that's what I'd like, but I don't think that's going to happen. I've never been to Indiana before, so we're excited about going to Indiana, but I'd like to have 12 home games.
What are the challenges in your first year of getting guys to buy in if you've had a few losses in a row? Not just buying into what you're trying to do this year, but long term for the future. But did you see that at Vanderbilt in your first year there, and how's it gone this year so far?
Well, yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. The more success you have, you know, the easier it is for that. You know, they jump on board right away, and I'm comfortable with that, and I'm pleased with that. But yeah, when you do have some struggles and you do have some challenges, that makes it a little bit more difficult. I've said this from the beginning, that I think in a lot of ways as a coach, it's easier to take over a program that had gone 2-10 2 years in a row than a program that had had some success. You know, so you know, I'm pleased with that, though. I really am. Even though we've had some struggles here lately, the attitudes have been great. Is there signs of frustration at times? Yeah, but that's natural. That should happen. And as long as we can sit down and talk man to man and work through those things and get back out on the field and do what's best for Penn State and this football program, I'm perfectly fine with that.
When you prepare for a back who's this good, do you just rely on one kid to kind of play him on the foreign team, or do you have multiple guys doing it? And do you feel fortunate that you have some good kids that you're redshirting? Yeah,
I'm really excited about our young backs. You know, so I think that's helpful. But yeah, you know, it's in the end, it's really not going to be about him, although he is a special back and he's leading the country. It's really about what we're going to do. Are we going to be gap sound? You know, are we going to get off blocks? You know, are we going to be able to overload the box because we feel confident about our defensive backs and coverage and things like that? So, you know, for us, it's always have an awareness and have a respect for our opponent, but ultimately it's about us and our preparation and things that we do.
We haven't asked you about Adam Brennan in a while, but what has this year been like for him off the field? And what do you think he can gain by sitting out there?
Yeah, I think obviously from a maturity standpoint, the time off, the fact that he didn't redshirt and played as a true freshman and now is getting that back, I think that's helpful. But he's one of our stronger leaders on our team. So not having him, again, on the offensive side of the ball where, you know, they're young and inexperienced, you know, losing a guy like him, I think, is a blow. So I'm excited about having him back. He's one of the more positive guys. I love him. I see him every single day. You'd never know that he's, you know, in treatment and missing the season. His attitude has been awesome. So I'm looking forward to him getting back. And you're talking about out of high school, the #1, you know, tight end in the country. You know, so, you know, losing those types of players have an effect.
In that vein, we've heard about what Miles Diefenbach can do, even though he's on the sideline leading the offensive line. Have you seen or heard anything about Adam doing the same to tight ends on game day?
Yeah, I think both of those guys, but there's a difference. You know, there's a difference in terms of how much you can lead and how confident you are in leading if you're not out there doing it with the guys every single day. I think Miles and Adam have both been leaders for us, but I don't think there's any doubt that when you're in the locker room and you're on the field, you know, for the same amount of time as everybody else, you can have a bigger impact.
Take two more.
Miles is over here working with the defensive lineman. How important is that for him to kind of sharpen his teeth, so to speak, against these guys after practice and putting that extra effort?
Well, he's behind. He's missed so many reps He's missed so many reps in terms of his fundamentals and his footwork and his assignments and things like that, and he knows that. But that's the sign of a mature player. He knows he's so far behind in reps that he's got to do some extra to get caught up. And it's not just the physical aspect; it's the mental aspect and the emotional aspect that comes with it as well. So he wants to play badly and he wants to help this team. So I'm glad that he's doing those things.
I saw Christian wearing sweats, you wearing a beanie out there. I know it's starting to get a little cold here in November. Do you or Christian, any of those players, get a hard time dressing for the weather?
No, to be honest with you, this is like tropical. You know, coming back to Penn State, I didn't expect the weather to be like this. So, you know, I don't know about you guys, but I'd be happy with this type of weather for the rest of the winter. Wouldn't you?
Wait till next week.
Yeah. One day at a time, right?
Real quick follow up with the time change, with it getting darker earlier. Have you guys changed the way you're structuring practice based on it getting darker earlier, or does it not really matter?
It's still 4 o'clock. It's still 5 o'clock. It's still 6 o'clock. Yeah. No. Just, you know, whatever time it is. You know, the alarm goes off, and at 4:45 in the morning I get up. Whether that's 4:45, you know, or 3:45, really. You know, whatever the clock says, we get up and we go to practice and do whatever we got to do.
I felt pretty good about getting up at 8 today. So.
Was it? Oh, those were the days.
Yeah.
Those were the days.
Hey, Jeff, one last thing. When do you make a decision on who your punter's going to be? Is that a late week or is that a game day thing?
You know, no, it's not a game day deal. We'll make that decision really Thursday night, Friday morning, based on who's punted the best, you know, in practice during the week and who we think is going to give us the best opportunity, knowing that if that guy struggled during the game, you'd still have the ability to put the other guy in. So, you know, I've asked Ficken to meet with those guys a lot and talk to those guys because he's been there, done that, and seen it all. And you know, I mentioned, I think earlier in the week at the press conference, I want Ficken to take a stronger role because you know, he's got tremendous experience.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.